Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Tuesday morning. As always, we've got a massive show to bring you guys this morning. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right-hand corner. Doesn't cost any money. Get involved. And let's get straight on into the show. So on the show this morning, we're going to be talking about Manchester United's shock pursuit for a Chelsea centre-back. Now, this one's come as a bit of a surprise. I know we're in the market for a centre-back, but the name that we're being linked to, I'm not that excited about it, but of course we will talk about that in a minute. We're also going to be talking about more leaks coming out from the dressing room. The dressing room is leaking again. Just like last season, people were saying it was Dean Henderson, people were saying it was Maguire, people were saying it was Jesse Lingard. You know, there was all of these rumours about who the person was leaking these stories. Well, whoever it is still leaking the stories because we've had more leaks coming out in the last 24 hours, ultimately criticising Erik ten Hag. So we'll be talking about that. And we'll also be talking about massive changes at Manchester United with a whole club restructure being planned if Sir Jim Ratcliffe is set to take over the club, including a change of role for Erik ten Hag. So we will, of course, be talking about that. As always, get involved in the comment section, get involved in the live chat. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show. Right, so let's start off the show with this dressing room leak story then. The thing is, right, before we even go into this, I just don't understand how these players just can keep trying to blame managers. Like, it makes zero sense to me. Mourinho, they threw under the bus. Ollie, they threw under the bus. Like, they've had every different type of manager. They've had managers who don't care and are all smiley, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And still, when the results start turning bad, they throw them under the bus. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. And I just hope that, you know, you as Manchester United fans see this and see these players for who they are, because it's so frustrating. It really, really is. So the story that came out ultimately said that the players weren't happy with the amount of training and the intensity of the training, and that they were complaining about it. I mean, it's an absolute joke, isn't it? I remember reading, I think it was David Beckham or it was Paul Scholes, somebody, one of, you know, the Manchester United legends, was talking about how Sir Alex Ferguson used to train the squad, and they said that every single training session was so intense, so, you know, so hard and so difficult, and that was what got them to that level of, you know, of excellence ultimately. And for these players, right, after an embarrassing loss at home to Man City, to come out, somebody in that dressing room to leak that, you know, the players aren't happy with the amount of work they're having to put in on the training ground, and that, you know, they think that they're being overworked and all of this rubbish. I just think it's an absolute disgrace. I really, really do. And I just hope that, you know, you as fans and as, you know, Manchester United lovers can see it for what it is. Like, these players, most of them aren't good enough to wear the Manchester United shirt for me. The bare minimum that they can do is go on that pitch and give 120%. When you look through that squad, I would say barely 50% of them go out and do that. I think the younger people do. I think, you know, the Hannibals do. Obviously, Garnacho does when he goes out. You know, when he loses the ball, he tracks back. He tries to win it back, you know. Rasmus Højlund gives 120%. Bruno puts in a lot of effort, but he complains equally as much. And I saw Roy Keane and a couple of other people talking about this. And, you know, in a more older day, the way that Bruno conducts himself on that pitch, the other players in his team would not stand for it. Every single time he misplaces a pass, he blames someone else and he throws his hands up in the air. Even if he makes a mistake, he blames other people. And I just think that it's creating a bit of a negative toxicity in the squad and on the pitch. You know, I'm sure they all like Bruno Fernandes. I'm sure they all get along with each other, but it's just ridiculous. I wanted to ask you this question as well. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section and in the live chat. Do you think Bruno Fernandes is the right captain for Manchester United? Now, let me know in the comment section. Give me your thoughts. Give me your reasons. I'll read out as many different opinions and stuff as possible. So do make sure to get them in. Do you think Bruno Fernandes is captain material for Manchester United? Or would you, as Roy Keane said after the Manchester derby, would you remove the captaincy from Bruno Fernandes and give it to someone else? If you are going to give it to someone else, who would you give it to? I'll obviously give you my opinion as well before I read out some of yours. I don't, obviously he's not on par with, you know, the Manchester United captains of the last 10, 20 years, really, is he? He's better than Harry Maguire, I would say that, by way of what he offers on the pitch. And I understand that you need a captain who's on the pitch every single game, but I'll do a poll on it in a minute, actually. All right, let me do a poll on it now quickly. Go on then. Let's do a poll. Should Bruno be captain? Everyone smash a like on the video and subscribe quickly. Right, there's the poll. I've just set up the poll for you guys. So the question is simple. Should Bruno be the captain, yes or no? From my perspective, at first I thought yes. I thought he deserved it. I thought he's been our best player for the last 2 or 3 seasons. But the way he conducts himself on the pitch, it has become a bit of an issue for me. I just think it's a bit childish. And I think that one person acting like that on the pitch who's got the captain's armband, it's just going to negatively reflect on the rest of them. And I do think it has become a bit of a problem. I would probably be looking at maybe Casemiro, maybe Varane. I think there are other people in that squad who've got a much, let's be honest, right? What has Bruno Fernandes really won in his career? Let's have a look quickly. When you compare him to Casemiro and Varane, like those are multiple Champions League winners. Bruno Fernandes has won. I know he's been good for the last couple of years, so I'm not trying to slag him off saying that he's not good enough to, he has won the Portuguese League twice. He's won the Nations League with Portugal once, and he's won the League Cup. So he's won 4 trophies in his career. One was the League Cup, the Portuguese League twice, and he also won the UEFA Nations League. So, I mean, it's not that much, is it, when you look at it like that? If you compare it to someone like Casemiro, who's obviously, I know he's a little bit older, but when you compare the difference between Casemiro's trophy cabinet and Bruno Fernandes, so Casemiro's won the Champions League 5 times. He's won the Spanish League 3 times. He's won the Super Cup 3 times. He's won the Spanish Cup 3 times. The League Cup, obviously, in England. He's won the Copa Sudamerica back in Sao Paulo. He's won the FIFA Club World Cup. Like, he's probably, I'm not going to count now, but I would say he's probably won about 20 plus trophies here from what I can see versus Bruno Fernandes' 3. And it's not just about trophies for me. It's about how they operate on the pitch, how they conduct themselves. And I just think that at the moment, Bruno Fernandes hasn't really offered much as a captain. But let me know what you guys think. I don't think changing the captaincy is going to make a hell of a lot of difference, though, to be honest. I still think we'll still be pretty much the same. I'm just saying, from a viewer's perspective, from a fan's perspective, seeing Manchester United come out every single game, and as soon as he misplaces a pass, he's throwing his hands up and blaming other people. Like, that can't be good for the dressing room. Imagine you're in a workplace, right, and somebody in your team makes a mistake, and then they blame you for it. And they're the manager, it would frustrate you. It would annoy you. All of the other people around you would be like, oh, I don't like this person. He does this, he does that. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, yes, he might be likable within the dressing room. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. So a couple of people are saying Varane. Al says Casemiro has been in woeful form. No to Casemiro. Darren says a captain needs to play most games, and when he's not playing, be an influence in the dressing room. Somebody says we haven't got one world-class player. Yeah, I probably agree with that, to be honest. No one says it should be Casemiro or Varane. Bashir says it should be Varane. I would probably agree with Varane. The only thing is with Varane, I don't really feel like he's that vocal on the pitch. I don't know what it is about him. I don't get this leader kind of presence from him. I know the way he operates and the way he plays football, he's a leader. He's unbelievable. But do you know what I mean? You see like Dallo and all of these others, every time they win a throw-in or whatever, like high-fiving each other. And I don't really get that from Varane. I feel like he seems quite introverted, quite, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong there. Whereas Bruno Fernandes, whether you like his activities or not, he's constantly in the ear of the referee. He's constantly trying to win throw-ins and free kicks. But I think the issue with Bruno is he's been found out now, and I think the referees are almost onto him. They're not letting him get away with all of the stuff he used to. And we even saw earlier on in the season, he tried to argue a decision with the referee, and they just give him a yellow card now straight away. And that will keep happening with Bruno, because every single foul he complains about, even when he loses the ball himself, he complains to other players. And it's like, I don't know, it's a difficult one. Leaf says Diogo Dallo. I'm not sure about Dallo personally, but fair enough. Somebody says make a poll of who should be the next captain. I'm not going to go that far. I'm just going to leave it as, do you think Bruno should be the captain? Obviously, I don't want to, Bruno's going to remain the captain. I'd be very, very surprised. I'd be very surprised if they changed it. The only way I would see it changing is if a new manager came in and thought, I don't want Harry Kane. I don't want Bruno Fernandes to be the captain. The thing as well, right, that I think we need to consider is the fact that he's the captain, I think means that he plays every single game. Like, he constantly is on that pitch purely because he's the captain, I think, And I think you're not going to substitute your captain. So I think he's almost got that security now where he knows that no matter what he does, he can always play. But let's move on to the next story, though. Everyone who's just joined in the last couple of minutes, please smash a like on the video and please subscribe to the channel. Bottom right-hand corner, get involved. And let's talk a little bit about this Chelsea centre-back. Now, I'll be honest with you, this has come as a bit of a shock to me this morning. It has. Now, the player in question is Trevor Chalobah. This is coming up from 2 or 3 different UK journalists this morning, and they're saying that Manchester United are now considering making a January move for Chelsea centre-back Trevor Chalobah, who is set to be forced out of the club. It says that Chalobah wants to stay in the Premier League. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think he's an okay player. Like, is he better than Maguire? Probably. Is he better than Johnny Evans? I would say yes, he is. I don't know. I'm not sure. What do you guys think about Chalobah? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the live chat. Do you think he would improve our defence? He's not particularly fast, which, again, I think is important in the Premier League. I just think he's a pretty average player, to be honest. You know, people think that, oh, he's still young and all the rest of it. He's 24. He's not that young anymore. He's not getting in the Chelsea team. And when you think that Chelsea have got a mid-30s Thiago Silva starting ahead of him, and he's not really getting any moments at all. I'm not that convinced by Chalobah, to be honest, and I don't think he'd be much of an improvement. And knowing Manchester United, we'll end up spending 50 million on him. You know, if it was for 5 million, 10 million, okay, great, bring him in as a backup option. Why not? But the amount of money that Chelsea are going to want, it would be absolutely ridiculous. And Manchester United, being Manchester United, will pay it because we're stupid. We'll pay 30, 40, 50 million for Chalobah, even though he's probably worth, 15 tops. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. It's definitely not the kind of name that I want to see linked to Manchester United. As somebody says in the chat, no more Chelsea flops. Yeah, I mean, we've literally brought in so many, haven't we? We've brought in Mason Mount, who I wouldn't say is a flop yet. I'd say he's... I don't know what's happened to Mason Mount. I don't. I really, really don't. But I just really, really hope we don't go for people like Chalobah. We need to look at people like Antonio Silva from Benfica. We need to look at Gonzalo Inacio from Sporting Lisbon. Even Jean-Claire Todibo. Like, we definitely need to look at someone better than that. Because for me, Chalobah, I just don't think he's very good, to be honest. I really, really don't. Especially when you've got Lindelof, who I would say is better than him. I would just keep Lindelof. You need someone who is literally going to up the level massively. I really, really is. Loads of people in the chat saying no more Chelsea rejects. Yeah, well, hopefully this one doesn't happen, but it looks like Manchester United are interested and he wants to leave the club. So obviously I'll keep you updated on that one as and when we get more news on it, but let's just keep our fingers and toes crossed that doesn't happen, because I don't think it's an upgrade. I think if anything, I think it's just continuing with our usual pattern of probably overpaying for average players who other clubs don't want anymore. You know, Chelsea are a rival of ours, really, aren't they? I know they're not doing amazing at the moment, but neither are we. Chelsea are a direct rival, and the fact that Chelsea, who are in an equally as poor run of form as us, where are Chelsea? Are they 10th, 11th? They're below us in the table. The fact that Chelsea don't want this player anymore, and they're doing worse than we are, kind of sums it up for me. I mean, Chelsea are 11th place. They just lost 2-0 to Brentford at home. Did Chalobah start that game? No. So, I mean, they've got Levi Colwell, who's obviously a very good centre-back. They've got Thiago Silva. And then, I mean, even on their bench, they've got that Disasi guy. They've got like 2 or 3 good centre-backs. And whatever he's called, Chalobah doesn't even get anywhere near the first team. So, for me, it's a definite no. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Chalobah to Manchester United, yes or no? Let me know your thoughts. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat quickly. Chai says we'll end up with Tyrone Mings. Oh God, probably. Stefan says, is there any update on the board meeting to accept the bid? We'll talk about that in a minute. Darren says, can anybody say what is our best midfield lineup? It seems like every combination has failed to impress. Yeah, I don't know, mate, to be honest. I think I was so excited about Amrabat. I know we're only 10 games into the season, but from what I've seen so far, I don't think he's going to save Manchester United for me personally, Sofian Amrabat. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that one. I think we massively need to improve in all areas of our pitch. We really, really do. But yeah, let me know what you think about that. A couple of other bits to get through really, really quickly. So, quickly on Jadon Sancho, Sky Sports have been talking about it and they have confirmed this. They said Jadon Sancho continues to train alone at Manchester United. Making up with Erik ten Hag is now not possible, but there is currently no movement. Sancho's mood described as good as it can be given the situation. So the Sancho situation is done. He'll leave the club in January. Obviously, the January transfer window opens in about 8 weeks. It's November the 1st tomorrow. So in about 8 weeks time, Sancho will go somewhere else, and hopefully we can bring in a replacement. Now, this was the bit I wanted to bring in here as well, actually, about Sir Jim Ratcliffe's plan for Manchester United, and also about a change of role for Erik ten Hag. Now, I think this is the correct decision, but let me read it out to you before you guys, obviously form an opinion. So, the story says this. It says, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's faith in Erik ten Hag remains unchanged despite Manchester United's poor start to the season. It is thought that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will actually now give Erik ten Hag less responsibility, and he'll take away the control of player recruitment and leave Erik ten Hag just to coaching. I think this is the correct decision 100%. No more decision-making from Erik ten Hag. We need a top director of football to bring in these players. You know, we saw Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, complimenting his team around him after the Manchester derby when he was asked why the team is so successful. We desperately need to have a similar system and setup to what Man City have. And the first part of that is taking away all the player responsibility from Erik ten Hag. He should not be signing the players. That should be up to somebody whose job is to sign players and who's an expert in, recruitment. Erik ten Hag is not an expert in recruitment. He's supposedly an expert in being a coach. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Do you think that's the correct decision? I 110% think it's the right decision. Give him less responsibilities. His job should be to coach the players. His job should be to get them to play good football. He shouldn't be, worried about bringing in these players and all the rest of it. That should be up to Manchester United. They should decide as a club. This is the most important thing for me, right? Whoever comes in as the new owner, they need to have a meeting without Erik ten Hag, and they need to decide what Manchester United's style of football is going to be, okay? And then if they think, right, Erik ten Hag is the right man for that, great. If he's not, then obviously they need to go and get another manager. So if Manchester United say, right, we want to become, a team that, have 70, 80% possession, we press constantly, kind of similar to Man City, Liverpool, that's that kind of style, then they need to bring in players to complement that. They don't need to bring in shirt sellers. They don't need to bring in people who've got 20 million followers on Instagram who are just going to walk around the pitch and do nothing and not, do the Manchester United way. That's the first thing that needs to happen. And Erik ten Hag shouldn't really have a say in those signings. It should be up to the club. Obviously, they can run things past him, but it should be up to the club because we've seen how many managers we've gone through in the last 10 years. We've seen in the Manchester derby, we had people from Ollie era, we had people from Jose's era, we had people from Ten Hag's era. We had players from like 3 or 4 different managers who all didn't really work together, let's be honest. And I think that we really, really need to home in on that first. That needs to be the first thing that gets addressed. Manchester United need to identify what they're going to be known for, because since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club, we've got no style of play, we've got no direction. It's just bring in people and see what happens. Al says that's good news. I don't trust Erik ten Hag's transfers. I agree with you, to be honest. I don't either. Somebody else says I agree. That's 100% a great decision. Florian says yes, of course he is a manager, not a recruiter. Darren says it seems transfers at the moment start with Erik ten Hag's suggestion on who to sign. Yeah, I think it does. And I think the thing is, right, I don't think Erik ten Hag's actually getting the players that he wants. I don't. I think, he wanted he wanted Kane, he wanted Osimhen, he wanted De Jong, Kim Min-jae, Gakpo. The list goes on and on and on and on. There was about 10 players that were his first choice options, and he didn't get any of them. Joseph says, is Fred a big loss for our midfield? I would say so. I would. I thought that we'd be bringing in 2 good midfielders, right? I would thought Fred would go, Donny would go, and we'd bring in Amrabat and someone else. We brought in Amrabat, who was injured on deadline day, and that was it, on loan. We needed 2 midfielders because Fred offers something different to Amrabat. Fred just ran and ran and ran and ran. And I actually think in some ways, right, for the style of football that Erik ten Hag wanted to play, or at least what we thought he wanted to play at Ajax, Fred was the perfect person for that because he worked tirelessly. Yes, he wasn't the best footballer, but he worked so hard for the team. He ran constantly. And I think we need more players like that. We need people with less of an ego, We see so many of our players just walking around on the pitch. I mean, even McTominay, he thinks he's better than he is now, doesn't he? Like, he used to be one of those people from the youth who used to work so hard and was relentless and never stopped. But he seems a little bit like, he doesn't track his man back and all the rest of it. Richie says Manchester United needs a team. Currently, it's a team of overhyped individuals. Yes, exactly that. Exactly that. It really, really is, and that's the biggest problem for Manchester United at the moment. It's just getting those things round. It also goes on to say that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will organise a full-scale audit of Manchester United's football operation, and it is likely to include specialists taking control of player recruitment and Ten Hag sticking to coaching. So that's that. I think that's the right decision. There's another story as well. More leaks from the dressing room. Let me read this out for you as well. Where was this posted? I've seen it on Twitter somewhere. Let's read it out quickly for you. It says this. It says Sir Jim Ratcliffe's minority investment in Manchester United will be completed and announced next week, apparently. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. My understanding so far is that they haven't voted on it, so I don't know where this story has come from, but we'll have to wait and see. Fabrizio Romano's also been speaking about it, and he says the Manchester United ownership uncertainty is influencing the performances on the pitch. I agree with that. I think it is. Whether you think, these players are overpaid, they should be working regardless. Imagine if you work at a company, right, and there's all of this change going on above you. It's gonna distract you from your work. It is. Whether you say it is or it isn't, you know that some people are different. Some people can handle it. Some people can't. Yeah. What's this one as well? Yeah, so there's this other story as well that's just come up here, and it says, a Manchester United insider, the whole place is crazy at the moment. There is so much uncertainty everywhere. Boardroom, coaching staff and players, none of them know if they'll even be here next season. Eric included. The sooner Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in and has at least 1% of control on the structure, it will be a godsend to us. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. I don't think Sir Jim Ratcliffe having 1% will make any difference. I don't think Sir Jim Ratcliffe having 25% will make much difference. There'll still be uncertainty. There'll still be, this level of who's going to be the full owner in the long run. Who is the investment going to be made? Are these players going to be kept? There's all these questions, isn't there? So even if Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in, what if Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in and says that none of these players work in our system, we want rid of half of them? Like, all of those players are going to be thinking like that. Paul says, I wish we had kept Fred and sold McTominay. I completely agree, mate. I really, really do. I think that would have been a much better option. Somebody says Fred is unbeaten in Turkey, plus the best performance for a player in Europe all competition. Fair enough. Darren says McTominay shouldn't be playing. He doesn't get enough passes, so our midfield will never dominate. Exactly. We need to actually look at our team and remove probably, I would say, at least 50% of the people in our team. I honestly think that. If we want to start playing this possession-based football. But as we said on the show last night, right, Erik ten Hag, I mean, I don't want to keep going over this because it literally, it made me worried. It did. I'm going to read it out to you really, really quickly. So Erik ten Hag was talking after the Manchester derby, and he was asked, in my opinion, the best question any journalist has ever asked him since he's been manager. The journalist asked him the following question. He said, when will you be able to play the same football with Manchester United that you showed at Ajax? And you know what? That is the question that I've been asking myself every single day since Erik ten Hag got the job. Every single day. When will we see Ajax's Erik ten Hag ball? When is that coming? Because we've seen it in tiny glimpses. We saw it, I think, against Crystal Palace, didn't we, in the 3-0? I think last season we saw it maybe once for like 10 minutes, but we haven't seen it consistently for 90 minutes once in his 18 months here. And Erik ten Hag replied saying this. He said, never. We will never play that football. Because those were different players. This is also not why I came here. We were playing different football than I showed at Ajax because I have to, because I can't play the same way. So he's pretty much completely opened up and exposed the situation. The players that he has at the moment, as I said, in the Manchester derby, he had people from the Oli era, people from the Mourinho era. He had a couple of people from his reign. All of them have got different play styles. None of them share the same kind of message or the same style of play. So, in short, unless literally 50+% of our team goes and it's 100% Erik ten Hag players, I don't think we'll ever see that style of football. We'll just see counter-attacking pass-bus football. And I just think it's sad. It really, really is. He then goes on to say, the players decide how you play. Ajax has a very typical and characteristic style of play. With Manchester United, I will always show different football. I did so last year. We play much more direct football here because I have the players for that here. So he's just confirmed what we all said. It's park the bus, get the ball, Bruno Fernandes, try and pass it through to Rashford, him run and try and score. That's pretty much our style of play now, and that's it. And this is where, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, whoever is the new owner that comes in, needs to address this from the beginning. We really, really need to see a direction. We really, really need to see an actual plan for the future. Whether that's with Erik ten Hag or not, that's up for debate. Maybe maybe he comes in and says, we're going to have a completely fresh start. Sergeant Ratcliffe, we're going to, bring in this manager. This is going to be our style of play. And it's going to take 5 years to get there. And then we'd have to be part of that process. Everyone who's just joined, please smash a like on the video. We've got 600 of you watching. Please smash a like. It helps bring more people into the stream. Please also subscribe, bottom right-hand corner if you haven't already. I'll read out a couple of your questions. Let's see what people are saying. Stefan says, the players don't fit the system he wants to play. Don't blame the manager. Blame the club for not getting the players. Can't believe people want Erik ten Hag out when the problem is elsewhere. I 100% agree with you. I do. And I think Erik ten Hag's pretty much exposed that truth that he literally doesn't have the players that he needs to implement his style of play that he played at Ajax. There was a couple of people though kind of arguing with this point, saying that the style of play at Ajax has always been the same. And if you actually look at how Erik ten Hag played football at his previous clubs, I think he was at Go Ahead Eagles and FC Twente, I believe. I watched a couple of videos yesterday because I wanted to do the research myself. I wanted to find out how he played football before. So yeah, he was at Go Ahead Eagles, then he was at Bayern Munich, then he was at Utrecht, right? And it wasn't the same style of football as what he did at Ajax. And if you actually think about it, right, the style of football we've seen from Erik ten Hag at Ajax is what Ajax have been known for the last 10, 20, 30, 50 years. They have. That is Ajax ball. It's what's implemented and embedded into their youth players from a very, very young age. And we know that a lot of those players in Erik ten Hag's squad, the Frenkie de Jongs, all of these types of names, were people that had been there since a young age. And I do just wonder how much of that was actually on Erik ten Hag. Now, I'm not trying to take away his successes and trying to, say he's not a good manager. Far from it. I like Erik ten Hag. But the fact that if you actually look at Ajax over the years, it's always kind of been that same style of play. It's not like he came in and they were a park the bus team and he turned them into this beautiful, fast-flowing football team. That's not what happened. It's the same when people compliment De Zerbi, right? And say, De Zerbi's incredible, he's done this, he's done that. Brighton have been playing that style of football for the last, 3 or 4 years, at least under Graham Potter. So for De Zerbi to come in, he's just continued what Graham Potter was doing before. The same with Pep Guardiola, right? When he leaves Man City, obviously he created Man City's identity. They'll be looking for a manager who ultimately wants to copy Pep Guardiola's style of play. They'll be looking for somebody who tries to play exactly the same style of football, so all of their players will suit that system. Do you see what I mean? And I think at the moment, it's impossible for a manager to come in and do that here because we've just got players that suit all different systems from all different managers. Some of them are motivated. Some of them think they're being sold. Some of them are, Sancho, who just doesn't play. Like, there's so many different players, so many different egos, and I just think it's a bit of a mess, really. Somebody says, isn't the manager's job to change the tactical of the players and change their form? What else we got? Stefan says the board should give Ten Hag money so he can get his own players in. I agree. Like, if you actually look through the players that Erik ten Hag signed, right? Half of the players he's brought in have either been loans or free agents. You think of Weghorst, you think of Eriksson, Amrabat, who else? Sabitzer, Johnny Evans. Like, when you actually look through the things, right? This big figure of 400 million that he spent, I think it's a little bit of a clouded judgment. They've spent 400 million on 3 or 4 players that they've overpaid for. That's not his fault. He wasn't the one negotiating with Real Madrid for Casemiro. He wasn't the one negotiating with Ajax for Antony. That was up to Richard Arnold and John Murtough. And the fact that he's literally got 5 or 6 of half of his signings are free agents. I mean, it's absolutely mad. Al says, if I give you 400 million, should you buy players that suit your system? Is 400 million not enough? Well, I don't think 400 million buys you a whole squad of 18 players who all play the same system. I mean, look at it, right? You bought Onana as the goalkeeper. Martinez, who's now injured. You brought in Casemiro. He brought in Antony. And he brought in Mason Mount and Højlund. He's brought in 6 first-team players, in my opinion. Okay? People like Amrabat, people like Eriksson, people like Johnny Evans, they're not first-team players for me. They're squad players at best. He brought in 6 first-team players. And he ultimately needed, you need 11 players on the pitch, don't you? So Richie says, Ange goes to Spurs. They sell Kane. Look how they're playing without him. Ten Hag must be questioned on tactics and selection. He needs to grow a pair, not performing, not benching players like Rashford and Bruno. I spoke about this on the show yesterday at length, and I just think that at Spurs, it's completely different, right? Spurs has a team of players. Manchester United have a team of egos. I know everybody in this chat today, you're football fans, right? But just look at it from a commercial perspective. Casemiro, 20 plus trophies. How many players in the Tottenham squad have won any trophies in their career? Answer me that. Go and have a look. I mean, genuinely, I wouldn't be surprised if they've won 5 trophies between the whole squad. They're a bunch of nobodies, Tottenham players. They are. Other than Son, they're a bunch of nobodies. Come on. You've got Casemiro, Varane. They'll go down as some of the best players in history. You've got Rashford, who obviously I don't think is one of the best players in history, but thinks he is. You've got, Bruno Fernandes. You've got all of these players with massive egos, massive social media following, massive brands. And maybe Erik ten Hag isn't able to manage those types of personalities. I think that's a better question to ask. I don't think I think if Erik ten Hag had gone to Tottenham, I reckon he would have succeeded. I genuinely believe that. I think he would have easily replicated what Ange has done. Easily. No doubt about it. Like, their best player is Son. The rest of them are nobodies, really, aren't they? On a kind of commercial level. Let's read a couple more questions out quickly. Somebody says, Kieran, the problem is Manchester United don't have a CEO or a director of football. Yes, I agree. Paul says the main job of director of football is player acquisitions and sales, usually planned over several windows, but Murta has no plan, obviously. Woodward didn't either. Exactly. Their plan is to bring in people who will bring in more commercial revenue, people who have lots of followers on Instagram, people who will get clicks on social media when they announce it. That's all they care about. That is the most important thing. Shirt sellers, commercial, brand. And that's Manchester United. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined me on the show this morning. Please do make sure to smash a like on the video before you leave. Please do subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let's just give the results of the poll really quickly. So 60% of you think Bruno Fernandes shouldn't be the captain and 40% of you think he should be. So it's pretty level. It's nearly 50-50. But yeah, big ups to all of you. I'll catch you all later at 6 o'clock. Have a lovely day or evening, and I'll speak to you all a little bit later.